Welcome to the Crimson Engine. My name is 𝙍𝙁𝙄𝙄𝙀. Today we are talking lighting, and specifically the 1x1. This is the Gemini 1x1 soft. This was the original 1x1 fixture, and while the big HMIs and the 10Ks, tube lights, 2x1s get a lot of publicity on Instagram, and probably no other fixture in the film industry is used as widely or is as versatile as your basic 1x1. So today we're going to look at how far the 1x1 has come and different lighting setups with two 1x1s. So a basic lighting kit you can use for social media lighting like I'm doing here. This is a single light setup. We are doing interview lighting, we're doing narrative filmmaking, dramatic lighting, and finally we'll look at two camera lighting to make your Zoom or Skype calls the most professional they can be. So the basic 1x1 has its array of LEDs, light emitting diodes. At the back it has controls. You're able to power it from AC or in this case by a battery. This is the Anton Bauer V-mount 150 watt hours. It fits on the optional battery plate on the back, and then you connect it to the fixture. This is a 200 watt light, so the 150 V-mount will run it at full power for 3/4 of an hour. But it's unlikely that you will need that much punch for most applications. For instance, I have this one at 18% and I'm shooting at ISO 250. The versatility of the 1x1 is that you can use it as a close, relatively hard source, use it as a hair light. It's small enough to put above talent and not be at risk of falling down because of its lightweight. But you can also use it through diffusion as a big soft source, and you can combine multiple units for even softer, larger sources like we'll do on the narrative one. The Gemini 1x1 is basically a Swiss Army knife of a light, and by combining multiple lights, with just two lights, you can create almost any type of lighting that you want, all with a kit that fits in the trunk of a compact car and runs only a couple of 100 watts. So this is a single light setup and a very good go-to if you ever need to do a very quick two-camera piece. I have the Gemini. It's on a just regular lighting stand. It's about 45 degrees to the side and 45 degrees above, which gives this nice drop shadow on the chin. It is going through a 2x2 DOP choice softbox, which attaches with Velcro in under a couple of minutes. It's a really easy install and disinstall. And you're able to use Velcro to attach different types of diffusion on the front. This is half grid, but I could also apply any type of diffusion to get different effects and different levels of softness. There isn't that much fill in this room right now because the sun is behind a cloud, but if I wanted to, I could use the other light to push into the white wall in front of me and add fill. So let's see what that looks like. This is a lot less contrasty image. I have the 1x1 at 100% hitting the wall behind the camera, which is then filling in most of the shadow on my face. It's also illuminating the background behind me, so I've lost some of my ratio, meaning the difference between me, the subject, and the background isn't as distinct. But that can be a good thing if you want to highlight your environment as well as your subject. Now I'm going to move to a beauty style of lighting. Instead of left and right, key and fill, we're going to go key above and fill below. So this is an example of the Gemini 1x1 used for beauty lighting. I have two lights, one above and one below, both in the DOP choice softbox. And the fact that I have almost equal lighting ratios above and below means that there are very little blemishes show my face. It is a smooth, beautiful, very flattering way to light people. So now we have a much more cinematic narrative type lighting setup with these same two lights. This time I have them side by side behind a large 4x6 foot piece of half-grid diffusion that's set up as a T-bar on a C-stand. So it's not a hard frame, it's just something that's hanging down from the horizontal beam of a C-stand. It is causing both lights, which are on about 75% power, to become a single light through the diffusion and a nice big soft source that you often see in cinema lighting. It puts a lovely Rembrandt V style light on this side of my face. It wraps around on the far side of my face, and I'm using the light coming in the window behind me as a scratch, as a little bit of differentiation on the back of my head. The reason that the room looks so different is I've now added 2 stops of ND to the camera, and I've dropped down to f1.4 to give a shallower depth of field. I've also added a little pop light on the guitar back there to make it a little more atmospheric. This is my go-to lighting setup for narrative cinematic images because it is a big soft source that makes faces look great. It is easy to set up and it is easy to move around. Because the source is so big, the difference in exposure from one part of the room to another is going to be comparatively slight. I'm still going to have pretty good exposure, the same as if I move closer to the light. This is really useful if you have your subjects walking around within a space or moving around within the scene. It means that you're going to have even lighting and not have to ride the iris of your lens as you're moving through the scene. You're going to have good exposure no matter where in the room your subject is. I personally really like these ratios. I could certainly add more of a scratch behind me or a hair light to make me stand out from the background more. But because I have that white wall and the small little pop light, you have no problem separating subject from background. Here we have the same look again, this time with the orange and teal look. This is typical of a current Hollywood blockbuster where they create a very dramatic color separation in order to further separate subject from background. So I have the one by one with a gel on it, a digital gel, meaning you set the light to the gel and it uses its RGB function of the LEDs to throw a lovely teal cast across the whole background. And then I have the DOP Choice softbox back on my key light here, which is just punching through the diffusion, giving me another nice soft light, though a little less directional than before, meaning it's lighting both cheeks now. And I'm sort of becoming a silhouette, or my back is becoming a silhouette against the much more lit, much brighter background. This is probably a little more poppy. This is almost a music video look. But regardless, it still looks great, looks very cinematic. You have good level, you have good separation, and it's basically a more extreme cinematic look if you want to take things in that direction, all with the same 2 lights. So for our final setup, we have what I would call a foolproof Skype, Zoom, teleconferencing setup. I basically have one Gemini soft, 1x1, either side of the camera with no modifier on it, dimmed all the way down to 10%. It's giving me very even, very beautiful lighting that's really not that hard to achieve. I'm much brighter than my background, so I'm separated from it. The lights are a little bit higher than my head, so I'm getting that under chin shadow or something close to it. And I have a lot of light in my eyes, so I'm looking bright and interesting and photogenic. The further away I get from the camera, you're going to see that effect drop off. But most people, if they're putting their camera and their lights on a desk in front of a computer, they're going to get a really nice, punchy, bright light that's going to separate them, that's going to make them look their best selves. So that's our look at multiple lighting setups you can do with 2 1x1 LED panels. Incredibly versatile, incredibly quick to diffuse and undiffuse, quick to move around, battery powered, so there's no cables over the ground to trip over. If I was going somewhere where I wasn't sure what the power situation was, what the locations were, what the talent was, what the shots were, I would definitely take 2 of these 1x1s, knowing that I can diffuse them in multiple ways and that they are applicable to almost any lighting situation. They really are the Swiss Army knife of the lighting world. Thank you very much for watching. Check out the description for links, and I will see you next time.